What's up, everybody? How you all doing today? Nice to see you all coming in. And Zen, you definitely, I think you've toppled Arubius as the, probably toppled him as the most consistent first message. So good job. Good to see you in the chat as always. And what's up, Hamza? How you doing? Good to see Andrew in the chat as always, even if it's with the crying face. How are you all doing today? All right. So what are we going to do today? I suppose we should address the title. Yeah, today will be my last live stream with TCM. Unfortunately, it's been an amazing journey, and we'll talk about it more like as the stream goes on. But yeah, I'll be moving on to different things, new challenges in the future. And the reason I put it as the title is I didn't want to just kind of like disappear. So, but you know, we live in a small world, and there are conferences, and there's social media, and there's Discord, and everything else. So, you know, we're good. We can get through it. I might cry a little bit on stream, so just prepare yourselves for that. But otherwise, so we'll be all good. What is AMA? Ask me anything is AMA. Google it. Yeah, it's this is it. The direct answer. Ask me anything. So so all good. Somebody's saying it's a prank. No, unfortunately not. It's not April. It's not April. But you know, it's all good. So today I thought I do have a couple of boxes lined up, and a couple of things that we can work on. And then as usual, I'll take some questions. And if you have questions about, you know, what's happening with me in my life, I'm happy to take them as well. Yeah, non-personal questions. Don't ask me how I like my coffee, because that's I just like it black coffee or espresso. But don't ask me personal coffee questions. But otherwise, yeah, we're all good. So let me check in with the chat, see how we're doing. And I can see there's some pinned questions, but I'm going to quickly scroll down, catch up, and then let's see what's going on. I'm sure Alex pulls such pranks. Yeah, to my friends and neighbors. This is true, but unfortunately, this is it's real. So this is it. Let me keep scrolling down, see where we're at. Stream for us forever. You know, there was that live stream that this guy did. So every time he subbed, he had to stream for like an extra 30 seconds or something, and he went for like a week or something, like, and couldn't close off the stream. This is I'm sure he retired off of the number of subs that he got, which is like a genius idea, of course. But yeah, I will be live streaming in the future, just doing my own stuff, because so something that you guys maybe don't know so much is that live streaming is actually like my favorite form of content creation. For me, like, I'm a live streamer first, and then like YouTube and everything else second. Like live stream and like courses, those are the kind of like two things that I really like to do. I do like making YouTube videos. I kind of like, if I have the right topic, I also like making shorts. Shorts for me are a little bit like, they kind of go against my, you know, try and go deep and understand everything mentality. But I think used in the right way, shorts are good as well. But I find YouTube quite difficult to keep up. Although I checked this morning and I've made, let me see, hold on, 123 YouTube videos in 2 years. That's not too bad. Like 123, that's a lot. And I've probably done about 100 live streams. I don't have the stats on the live streams, but that's a good couple of 100 hours live streaming, and that's a lot of things. So all right, let me jump into some questions. Number one, Chuck, yes, unfortunately I'm departing, but you know, onto new challenges, so we're good. Zen has a good question. Okay, so Am I leaving TCM altogether or just the streaming part of it? So I'm actually leaving TCM. Yeah. In a couple of weeks, if you're following me on like LinkedIn or Twitter or whatever, you'll see where I'm headed to. But I'm on for new challenges. Don't get me wrong, working at TCM has been amazing, and the people who work at TCM are also like the best human beings you'll ever meet, for sure. But I think for me, like, I've done a lot of the stuff that I wanted to do, and I'm kind of like ready for a new challenge. And it's actually a really difficult decision to make, because like, maybe if I was less ambitious, I'd probably just be with TCM forever. It's great. It's I've had a great time. I love the people I work with, and I love my job. But I'm the kind of person that does need like new challenges. So that's what we're jumping onto. Today's topic, I think we're going to look at a couple of apps. We're going to have a look at like broken access control and maybe some SQL injection in a couple of labs that I've built. So that's coming up in like 10, 15 minutes, but I'll answer a bunch of questions before then. So all good. Will content I made on TCM stay on TCM? Yes. Yeah. So I'm an employee of TCM. So everything that I've made belongs to TCM. So you don't have to worry about like courses disappearing or anything like that. The certs will stay there. The courses will stay there. You're all good. Don't worry about things like that. It's all good. And I think, in the future, maybe we'll do some more collaborations. Maybe I'll push some course updates. It's like, who knows what the future holds. I'm a pretty like open person, to sensible things. So it's like, I'm not moving to Mars, so it's all good. Let's see. Where am I from? Can you guess? And also, this is a great username, Cat Jenny. I mean, come on. I'm from the UK, so I'm British, and there we go. That's mystery solved. Can you not tell from the accents? Actually, so I was in Berlin last week for a wedding, and we did a walking tour. Which, if you go to any city, especially like in Europe, walking tours are like the best thing ever. And there was an Australian guy called Campbell who did our tour. And then some people were like, where are you from? And he was like, guess. And he had like a really clear Australian accent. And like, he wasn't talking like directly to me. Somebody else had asked the question. And I was like, obviously Australia in my brain. And then these other people were like, you're from England. And I'm like, this guy is like, and then I interjected and I was like, no, we're culturally similar, but the accents are super different. So there you go. But it's obviously easy for me to recognize an Australian accent. So that's, so that's it. But no shame, but just kind of amusing. That's all. All right. Let me keep scrolling down. Oh, where can you watch my stream after leaving? So I used to stream a little bit on Twitch, and I do have like a low-key YouTube channel, which I don't really post to because I do everything through TCM at the moment. But if you check out my I think it's AppSec Explained, I'll be live streaming on YouTube, probably starting up like in a couple of weeks. I'm going to be super busy like the next week or so, just because I've got a lot of documentation, handover and things like that. But going forward, if you're connected with me on LinkedIn or Twitter or something like that, you'll see me posting about the live streams. But since live streaming is my favorite thing, I've got to take it back up and keep it going for sure. Here's an interesting question. What do you think is more reliable besides web app, mobile or cloud pen testing? I'm going to make an assumption and assume that you mean reliable in terms of like what is like more of a legitimate long-term career, or like what's going to still exist. I would say that with cloud pen testing, the people I talk to, and Heath as well has said this, it's more like cloud auditing. A lot of companies probably not ready for cloud pen testing yet. In the we can just audit their cloud environment and be like, here are all the issues. In some cases, that's what a pen test is anyway. So I would say like mobile is definitely underserved. And if you think like every single, like not every single person in the world, but like basically everybody who's any company that you know who they're doing business with has access to a mobile phone and probably has access to web applications and mobile applications. And mobile applications very similar to web apps, but I know you said besides web app. Mobile is huge. Like it's literally everywhere. I like in every country, even in like countries like third world countries, like people have phones and they have, you know, maybe they don't have like the latest and greatest iPhone or Samsung flagship, but like pretty much the whole world has access to mobile devices. And in countries where, you know, maybe they don't have a lot of PCs and things like that, they still have phones. So I would say like mobile testing and mobile bug bounty and things like this is like really underrated in terms of like it's such a huge piece of the world, but people don't really see it or respect it for what it is, I think. So like there's more people with mobile phones and web apps than there are Active Directory networks. So let's put that out there. So yeah, I think that would be me. But cloud pen testing still has its place, I think. So that's it. Let me keep scrolling down. Oh, am I still going to make courses for TCM? I think in the short term, no. In the future, possibly. I mean, who knows? I do like making courses, and there are like updates and modules and things that I want to push to the courses that I have made so far. So it's not out of the realms of possibility, 100%. So, but at least until like for the short term, I've got other stuff I need to be diving into and other responsibilities, and so I'll definitely be, from a course perspective, checking out for a little while. I think that's the main thing. Can you do an internship? So TCM do internships. I think it's for the US, and there's like a SkillBridge. Is it called SkillBridge? I can't remember because TCM is an American company. They do internships. So I'm not sure who has the details of it, but you can check on the Discord or email support and just be like, hey, what's the status? But we've had plenty of interns in the past, and they've all been amazing. Like Tony and Anthony, and I don't know why they're all called Tony, but all of our interns have been really, really good. All right. Oh no, we're doing okay for time. 17, 18. Okay, let's keep going down. See how many questions that we've got. I just see this great question that's come up about 1.5 years, but I'm gonna get to it. I'm scrolling down the pinned ones first. Oh, interesting. Good question. So can Linux be used as a primary OS, and which distribution do I recommend? If you're going to use Linux as your primary operating system, I would definitely recommend Ubuntu, just because there's going to be loads of little things that you need to be able to do. And Ubuntu has it's really stable and it supports a lot of stuff from a user perspective. Having said that, for me, I used Debian for quite a few years, and I was religiously on Debian. And the benefit of that is that when I ran into an issue or something like that, I basically had to fix it, or I had to improve my knowledge and go in. So there are benefits to running distributions that are not super popular, I would say. But if it's your first time diving into Linux, I think Ubuntu is great. And I would say people who are really into Linux probably look down a little bit on Ubuntu, but it's a great distro. It's as simple as that. So I would say that that's the best thing to dive into if it's your first time like moving fully over to Linux, for sure. I was planning on making a video at some point of like moving my host system to Linux, and I still probably will do it at some point, but I just haven't gotten around to it. And I do most of my stuff inside of VMs, and all my web app stuff is just Docker these days, because like Docker just makes life so much easier. So that's it. I'm a beginner on a cybersecurity beginner course. Awesome. Feels a bit lost when there are so many tools and so much knowledge. Hard to remember which one to use, and syntax. Need to focus on one topic, for example. So I suppose the question is, do I need to focus on one topic, for example, like web hacking? Yeah, so I would say two things. One is don't jump around different courses too much. Like pick one course. Yeah, whether it's a TCM course or whether you're following like the ethical web hacking on YouTube or you're following like somebody else's course, fine, no worries. But I would say that when you follow a course, usually like a good course will like link things together. And what I would say is that over time, the more things you learn, the more kind of like dots you kind of connect. So this is why I always say to people, like, it's kind of unclear, but like I pretty much across the field, everybody's like having some basic networking knowledge and some basic programming knowledge and basic scripting knowledge. All of these things set you up for success later on, so that when you learn something new, you're not looking at it and being like, wow, this is wild. I've never seen this before. You're like, oh, this makes sense because this is how IP addresses work, for example. So I'd say, stick with the course and go through it. Try and get used to ambiguity, because to be honest, like a lot of the time, the people who think they know everything are probably just overestimating their abilities, and they think like for me, sometimes when I see like a PCAP and I'm like, I have reasonably good networking knowledge from like 10, 11 years of working in cybersecurity. And I know stuff about, and I know how networks work. And then I look at it and I'm like, this is like really confusing, and I feel really dumb. But after a little while, it kind of like begins to make sense. Or if you go a little bit deeper, you're like, okay, you can figure it out, and things like this. So I think being comfortable and just being like, okay, I don't know everything. I don't know exactly what's happening, but I have a reasonable idea and enough to kind of like keep going forward. And if you can keep up your consistency and just keep improving, I think that's the best thing to do. And just understand that you're not going to know everything to 100% straight away. And especially when you're just starting out, like you'll think you know something, and then in like 2 months, you'll realize that there's a whole nother layer and there's another layer. Like it's like the iceberg thing where you just go deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. Same with like when I was learning physics in school, like for us, we do like GCSE physics, and then it's like basic stuff. And I'm like, okay, I feel like I understand this. And then you do A-level physics. And then they're like, actually, all of that is rubbish. And you learn all of these new things. And then I didn't do physics at university, but I imagine if you go to university and do physics, they'll be like, actually, what you know is nothing. Like, this is how it actually all works. And then you meet somebody who has a PhD, and it's like, oh my God, like, you never really know. Like you never truly understand something fully. So just be happy with the ambiguity. Don't overthink it too much. And learn as much as you can and try and be consistent. I think that's the trick. What's up, John? What's the most creative / interesting way you've compromised a system? I was on a pen test a few years ago, and I could go negative infinity in one currency and positive infinity into another currency. So I was doing a pen test for a bank, and or like an FX company, and basically I could generate currency infinitely. So basically, there was a check where you couldn't go below 0. But then you could do a race condition where you could get below 0, and then once you were below 0, you could go as low as you wanted. And that was definitely the coolest bug I found. And then, you know, for a moment there, I was like, could just I was testing on prod, transfer this away, disappear off to some island somewhere. There was definitely an opportunity to disappear with millions, with like hundreds of millions. In fact, probably wouldn't have gotten away with it. But that's probably the coolest thing I ever found. Was a race condition that let me get past the. It was basically like a limit overrun race condition, and but once I was past the limit, I could freely, for some reason, like transfer money, and that was wild. That was the coolest, probably the coolest bug I ever found, for sure. All right, let me answer one more question, then we'll do a box, and then I'll answer more questions, then we'll do another box, and then we'll, carry on as we always do. What's up, Hamza? Any more recommendations for job search, Alex? I have been applying and I'm planning on relocating. Also, if the companies provide sponsorship, so anything you have on that. So for recommendations, for me, so there's kind of like two main approaches for applying. One is like the Hail Mary approach, where you just apply for everything. For me, I try and like do more of like if I was applying for a role, I'd apply for very specific roles and go like high effort into those roles. So customizing my CV. Honestly, I hate cover letters, but if they required a cover letter, like making sure the cover letter was really, really on point. Do my research about the company. Do I know anybody there? Could I reach out to anybody? Make an introduction? Do they have a booth at a conference? And things like this. So I go into like full stalker mode if I'm going to like apply for a job, basically. I know that's kind of like different if you're relocating or changing or something like this, but I would say just doing the extra efforts and researching the company and looking at like if you know who your interviewers are going to be, or if you have like likely people who they are, look them up on LinkedIn and make sure you have like a good grasp of the company. Read everything you see on Glassdoor. Not just because Glassdoor is great for red flags, but also some of the challenges companies have will be on Glassdoor, and they'll be like, there's this issue, and then in your interview you can be like, so in my role, I'm quite interested in this and solving this problem, and then they'll be like, this is the person we need to solve this problem that we've got. So be like, Olsen's Olsen heavy, I think, is kind of like sets you up for success, and that's just generally my approach. In terms of relocation, so if you're looking at abroad, bigger companies tends to be much easier to relocate. So, for example, if you wanted to move to Tokyo, Rakuten is a company that I used to work at Rakuten. Rakuten's a company that will like sponsor visas and do all of that and do all of like the moving and things like that. Otherwise, if you're going for a company that isn't used to doing it, you basically need to move there first and then hunt for jobs. So it's like there's kind of like two major ways to relocate abroad. I know you said like relocating, I'm not sure whether you mean abroad or not, but yeah, I would say that what a lot of people do, especially some of my colleagues who are working in Tokyo while I was living in Tokyo, they went on holiday to Tokyo for like a month or something. Took like either a student visa, or depending on the country you came from, you could get like a 90-day visa anyway. And they would do interviews while they were out there and be like, okay, I'm moving, and then do the interviews and whatever. So that's also a way of like really increasing the chances of success if you're looking to move abroad. It's really difficult to land a role abroad if you're not in that country, generally speaking, unless you know somebody in the company. So, like I said, there are exceptions, like Rakuten, for example. they kind of like sponsor and they do the whole process, but not a lot of companies do that. So try and get out there first. Maybe set up some meetings or interviews before you go, and then see if that works. I think that's like, given the context, and like I'm making a lot of assumptions there, I know, but I would say that's the way to go. All right, so let's see. Having said that, actually, this might be a good time to briefly say, even though I'm departing TCM, TCM is hiring. So there are a couple of open positions. So if you're interested in working at TCM, definitely check out if you check out like the LinkedIn page, the posts are on there, and they're probably on our website as well. I'm not sure exactly where the official postings are, but I've seen them go out on social media. So this is definitely something that's worth checking out. All right, let's do a box. What should we do first? Do you guys want to see? I'm going to switch back. I can see there's more pinned questions. I am going to come back to them. But let me do some hacking first, because that's what we're all here for, is the hacking. How do I so I'm just trying to figure out how to hide my name on don't know why it's there. Oh, there we go. Okay, hidden. Do you want to see broken access control or SQL injection first? That's the question going out to the chat. First person to answer either SQLi or broken access control gets the choice. Broken. Here we go. Whoops. Ryrish. Broken access control. All right, let me figure out this box. Let's pull up Burp Suites. This one's quite easy, so this is good. This is a good warm-up box. We're going to do the SQLi one afterwards, so it's all good. It's just we get to choose the order. So let me come into here. Oops. Let me sign into this. And spin up a lab. All right, let's see. Let's give this a little bit of time to spin up. Hey, what's up, Circuits? You missed all the preamble. Good to see you in the live streams, though. Always appreciate you dropping in. Circuits always here for those that don't know. Long-term watcher of the stream, always has good questions. But the good thing is you'll be seeing more of Andrew and Andrew. So that's like a benefit, right? All right, let's check out this box. Here we go. Autogram. Let's go. So Autogram is a web app that I built ages ago for it's like a CTF web app, and I have so many variations in Autogram on like vulnerabilities and stuff like that. And it's like the cutest site. So let's sign up. So Jeremy at jeremy.com. Jeremy, and his password can be password. And don't you just love this? Like, imagine if Autogram, imagine if Instagram was just all otters. This is what Autogram is. All right, so let's see. First up, we're hunting for broken access control. So I think the first thing to do is whenever we're looking at a target for broken access control, we need to figure out where are the endpoints where we can actually abuse our privileges or change something or things like this. So most of you know IDOR, right? Whenever we have a request, let's say a post request, and it's to update our password, and it takes in our ID and then our current password and then the new password and does all those checks. Can we change the ID of that and then target a different account, for example? Or can we change the claims in a JSON web token and target a different account, for example? How we also need to think about how the session management is done and how we are verified as a user and how we are checked to see what we are allowed to do and what we aren't allowed to do. And it might be that maybe we fuzz for admin controls, maybe we find an endpoint that we're not supposed to have access to, and things like this. So the first thing I would do is approaching this application. So we can see proxy HTTP history. I kind of want to understand what we can do. So we've got API posts. So this looks like it just returns the posts, which is good. And returns quite a lot of information. It's quite chatty, like a normal API endpoint is. But I would say, if you're searching for broken access control, if you're on a pen test or you're doing bug bounty, what I want to do is understand all of the features first, and then look through them, and then try and find one that is, either test them methodically or try and find one where I think a bug is likely. So here we can just say, super cute, and we can post on this, and then we can see that Otter Lover and Admin and C Otter Fan and Jeremy have all posted on this. And then what I want to do is come into here, and I'm just going to highlight. Let's go with green today. Some of the requests that we want to look at, we definitely want to look at post requests. We can like this. That sends a request, so let's highlight this in green as well. And then we already sent a comment. Is there any way to get into it? We can come in here. We can edit our profile. I also I put K's, but I meant to say cats because Y is next to T on the keyboard. I also like cats, so we post that. And then we can see this put request, so we highlight this as well. So not a huge, we can actually also upload. So let's also do this. Cats are awesome too. Credits. I haven't seen Arubius in the chat yet, so just shout out to Arubius. Who made this picture. I'm going to post this as well. There we go. Look at that. Cutie Alfie. Cats are awesome too. And then we've got this post request, so we can just highlight this. So it's not a huge application. In some applications, obviously, you might have 100 endpoints to look at, or you might it's going to be way more complicated, or the flow is more complicated. But essentially, it comes down to what are the endpoints that we want to look at when it comes to broken access control. And also, this is probably an endpoint that we want to look at as well. So we've got get profile Jeremy, other profiles that we shouldn't be able to see that we can see, and that would be a broken access control issue. So remember, can we get to stuff that we're not meant to be able to get to? And that's basically the premise that we're looking out for here. So let's have a look at this. So this just gets all the posts. So I'm not too bothered about that. And then we can post here to /API/posts/1/comments. This probably isn't that interesting in the if we change this ID here and we're going for like IDOR, for example, it's just going to send this content to another post. Something that we probably should check here as best practice is that if there is a private post, which there isn't in this application, but if private posts exists, could we post comments to posts that are private that we can't see? So that would probably be not a huge bug, but a bug nonetheless. Get posts, we're not too interested in that. And then we've got this like as well. So /API/posts /1/like. So once again, could we post or could we like things that we're not meant to be able to see? So this is also something that we should be checking for. Probably reasonably low impact, not too like crazy, but you know, something to think about in terms of hunting for issues in the application. Then we've got get profile. So this is definitely something that we need to take a look at. So I'm going to send this to Repeater because what I want to understand is here, this is our profile and Jeremy, and it's leaking our IP address, our email address here. And email addresses can be considered sensitive information. So something that we want to look out for. So I know that there is Otter Lover. So let's just try this quickly. We send this. And we actually here, okay, so we're leaking Otter Lover's example. And this isn't the intended vulnerability. But your application shouldn't leak the email address of users randomly like this, for example. So now we've been able to find the email address of somebody. And the thing here is like, if we go to Otter Lover's account, like it gives us their username and they're an otter enthusiast and it says, I love otters, and there's some cool pictures. This endpoint here, whoops, should not leak their email address, but it does. So this is definitely something to flag. Like this is a reasonably big issue. I wouldn't say like it's critical, but being able to like leak email addresses, users are going to be upset. You're going to be able to use it to try and brute force accounts. You might be able to use it in other ways. So this is a good finding, and this is probably worth like, you know, this is a bug bounty payout for sure. Like just being able to leak email addresses. So there's more like sensitive data exposure rather than broken access control, but something to look out for. And then we've got put/API profile. And here, this looks a little bit suspicious. So I'm going to give you guys like a minute or so. Think about this request. What would we change here to try and see whether we can find broken access control or not? And while you're doing that, I'm going to scroll through the chat and see how you're all doing. and that's it. Oh, random question here. Is Bug4ger open to all? Not yet. It's going to be in beta next week. So keep an eye on posts to see whether you are interested. If you send me a message, I'll give you a beta key for sure. But the beta starts next Monday. So yeah, there you go. Fun times. But if you try and sign up at the moment, it's going to be like no beta key, or like the beta hasn't started yet. Let's see. Let me scroll down. Yeah, so Disconfused. Good username. The ID. So the easy way to test for broken access control is IDOR, Insecure Direct Object Reference. Whenever you see an ID, change the ID and see whether you can do the same thing and whether it impacts another user or something like this. And this is horizontal access control. So if this works, and let's say we're able to impact the ID of the account 3 or 2 or 1, we should be able to only impact our own accounts, which is general like normal access control. But if we can impact other user accounts, this is horizontal access control. And then if we can get access to like admin accounts or like admin functionality, this is vertical access control. So it's not like super interesting or important that you remember vertical versus horizontal, but just for fun. So let's see. What I'm going to do is, don't get me wrong, otters are annoying. I actually really love otters, so don't like hate on me, but I'm just writing otters are annoying, cats are the best. And I'm going to try and just repeat this to ID 3 and then ID 2 and then ID 1. The main reason I'm doing this is because I don't know the accounts of these other users. Now, what I could do is create a second account and then do A/B testing, which if you were doing, if you were on a pen test or you're doing bug bounty, that's what you should do. Create dummy accounts and then target those dummy accounts. Don't target random users, because that's a good way to annoy people or your clients. But if we come to Otter Lover, yeah, here we are. Once we update this, and then let me scroll in. If we come to Otter Lover, you can see otters are annoying, which is different to our accounts. So we've actually managed to impact a different user's account. So this is our broken access control. So I think I can come back to here, submit this flag, and we're done. And then we can, I'll leave this instance open if you guys want to have a quick look. Let me put it in the chat. It's only running on a small EC2 instance, so if it dies, it dies. But if you want to recreate the same issue, I'll leave it open for the next half an hour or so. So it should be running on there, and you can create an account, have some fun, and try not to bring down all of the infrastructure, and then that's it. All right. Let me answer some questions, and then we'll jump into a SQL injection lab. The question of the day: who doesn't like otters? Otters are the best. I totally agree. Otters are amazing. Fun fact: so where I grew up, we had a river near our house, and if you were walking there early morning or kind of like at dusk, you would see otters like coming and going and like dashing in and out of the river and stuff. And this is why otters are awesome, just because they're so cute, and they hold hands so that they don't lose each other while they're sleeping. I mean, that's genius. What's up, Arubius? How you doing? Good to see you as always. And let's see, what else do we have? Let me answer some more questions before we jump into the other the next lab. I've only seen the bottom of the chat. So if you've chatted in the last 15 minutes, I haven't seen what's happened. That's it. I think I saw Mary Ellen coming in. What's up, Mary Ellen? How are you doing? Good to see you as always. And then Pops is awake. Hey, Popo. Oh, she tried to jump off the table. Here we go. Early cat tax. So there we go. She doesn't look impressed. She's just woken up. You all right, Popo? No? she's like, get away from me. Okay. She's not very happy. She's always grumpy when she wakes up. So there we go. You all right, Pops? She's just going to go to her scratching post and then wander out into the catio. And that's it. Let me answer some more questions. Let's see. So I've answered this one, did this one. Oh, who's going to be taking over the Wednesday live streams officially moving forward? Yeah, I mean, so definitely both Andrew Prince, Andrew Bellini will be doing like regular live streams as always. TCM's also recruiting as well, so you might see some new faces coming in. Like a red team job description went out, so hopefully there'll be a red teamer coming on and being able to give you like, you know, really good cool stuff from a red team perspective. But yeah, you'll see the streams won't stop. Like you're still going to see loads of cool stuff. And like honestly, like there's so many great people with crazy experience at TCM with interesting stuff to share. You won't be you won't miss me. Let's put it that way. There's so much other stuff to cover. Can I give a web app pen test pathway for intermediate level? Yeah, this is like so. This is tricky because like, what does intermediate really mean? But what I would say is, if it's an intermediate level, you understand code, you know how web apps work, you know all the foundational vulnerabilities. I would say read more blog posts, follow people who give like technical deep dives, read stuff. So for example, if you saw the Portswigger Web Hacking Awards, it does like the top 10 for like, for example, 2024, and then they gave out the awards at DEF CON. Read those kinds of blog posts, like the deep dive blog posts that are more research focused, that are more like edge case focused. I would say that's like, once you're at an intermediate level, you need to take the learning into your own hands and be like, I'm going to read stuff and I'm going to understand it and I'm going to recreate it and I'm going to research stuff. And yeah, you don't have to be a researcher, for example, but you know, you should be trying things in your own labs and understanding the results and not just being like, you know, fuzzing word lists and things. You should be creating your own word lists or augmenting them at the very least. So I would say go through every vulnerability that you know, and be like, okay, I know all the fundamentals in these. What do the edge cases look like? What do the current research and bug bounty reports look like? And read them. And if you don't understand them, then do more study so that you do understand them. And I would say do that. And maybe pick like one vulnerability or bug every 2 weeks and be like, week 1, you're just going to try and read something about it every day. And then week 2, you're going to update your notes and make sure that you have a good methodology and that you're covering all of the end cases and that your word lists are like not just basic word lists from SEC lists. Nothing wrong with SEC lists, but you can build on top of those, if that makes sense. So do something like, build like a routine that you can do consistently. And in a year, you'll look back and you'll be like, yeah, like you've come a long way, if that makes sense. I would say that's what it takes. Like once you hit the intermediate level, it actually gets really hard because everything becomes an edge case and everything becomes like, more annoying and less valuable because it's like an edge case. You might even never see it. Like there are vulnerabilities that I've looked at and studied and I've just never found because it's like an edge case, and it's like you feel like you've wasted your time. But if you stay positive and have an interest, then that's the way to go. All right, let me keep scrolling down. Oh, so this is the question that I saw before we jumped into the box. Is it possible to become an elite level hacker in 1 year or 1.5 years? So elite is a very arbitrary term. Elite to you might mean different to me, which might mean different to the best hackers in the world. So there's that. Can you make crazy progress? I would say if you are really diligent And so I'm like 10 years into cybersecurity, 11 years, I think. 11 years at some point coming up soon. If I could go back and coach somebody who was really motivated, I could probably make them better than I am currently in 1.5 years. And I'm 10 years in, because, not every year is the same. I do also have a life outside of security, and that's, everybody's different. But I'm pretty sure like a 21-year-old, you've just finished your degree, you don't have any commitments, and you're really passionate about cybersecurity. In 1.5 years, I could probably coach somebody who is better than I am. So I think, like, technically, yes, it is possible, but it comes with tons of caveats. Like, and I think since I turned 30, like, just understanding like health and consistency and things like that, it's also something that's important. I think there are times where like you need to grind and you need to like just buckle down and you need to make some sacrifices, but you don't need to be sacrificing every week of the year, every year, if that, like, all the time, for example. Consistency is important, otherwise you just burn out, and you won't be happy with your life. We're humans at the end of the day, so that's it. So try and build consistent habits. But is it theoretically possible? Yeah, for sure, I think so. Let's see. How can the future of cybersecurity use AI to enhance protection and efficiency while ensuring IT complements human experience? Prevention. There's a really easy answer to this, and that is have technical people make technical decisions on AI and don't over rely on AI. And then I think you're all good. So the MIT study that came out that was on Fireship was saying, like, I want to say 95%, but I think it might have been 80% of like AI startups fail. And the big reason for the failure in so many AI heavy driven projects is because it's being driven by a non-technical person at the top, rather than somebody who understands technology and embraces it and being like, these are where the benefits can come in and this is what's achievable, rather than we can make £1 billion by sending API requests to ChatGPT and just selling it to everybody for no reason at all. So this is like over reliance, misunderstanding, and I think time and experience is really, really important. Like, my understanding of AI is very, very different to a few years ago when I was just starting to use ChatGPT, and the way I use it has changed a lot because I try to use it to make myself more efficient. But I try also not to over rely on it too much. But a lot of like front end development, for example, my React development, I went through Code with Mosh's React course. I found it quite difficult. No, like, Code with Mosh is great. Don't get me wrong. I think he's amazing, like, in terms of learning development. But I struggled a lot with his React course. But now that I kind of have the fundamentals of React, and then I'm also using AI, and I do a lot of the backend development for my stuff myself, I use AI to like do a lot of the helpful heavy lifting in the front end. Everything works out, and it's great, and I can produce some really cool products and web apps and CTFs and things like that. So I think that's like a responsible use of, or like responsible, but like good use of AI. But I think if you try and just like get AI to do everything, you're gonna have a bad time. So that's my my hot take on AI, is that it's gonna help people either produce a POC, and it's gonna help people who know what they're doing be way more efficient. That's my hot take. All right. Let's see. Oh, I'm going to take this one last question before we crack on. What's the difference between Bowler and IDOR? So with IDOR, insecure direct object reference, you're only grabbing data. So generally speaking, IDOR is a GET request and you're requesting an object. And if you think about it, it's like the way it's termed is like direct object reference. So you're grabbing it and it returns the results and that's it. Bowler is essentially the same thing, but for API requests, which is a little bit annoying. So broken objects level authorization, you have access to an object that you shouldn't have. But then we have baffler, broken function level authorization, which is where you can access things like put requests or functions or be able to actually do things on behalf of a target. So Bowler and IDOR are the same things, but Bowler is more used in APIs. And baffler is when you can carry out some kind of action against or action that you shouldn't be able to do against the target, if that makes sense. Now, the reasons these different phrases exist, I'm not 100% sure why, but I'm pretty sure it's just because the OWASP top 10 and the OWASP API top 10 are different. I don't know who came up with these phrases, but I suspect it's just from OWASP and the differences in phrases. So Bowler and IDOR are the same. Baffler, broken function level authorization, is like, can you actually carry out a function or do something that you weren't meant to be able to do? Bowler and IDOR are like, can you view an object that you're not meant to be able to view? So that's at least in my brain, that's basically the difference. Yeah, these are used quite interchangeably. I would say more people use IDOR than Bowler. I would say like maybe like Corey Ball and myself and stuff like that. If we're like really into like talking specifically about APIs, then we talk about Bowler, Baffler, and things like this. But essentially, it's all broken access control. And that's the long and short of it. But that's a good question because like it's easy to get confused with them, and sometimes I confuse myself with the phrases as well. Let me spin up our next lab. This one I don't think it's on BugForge yet, but I can spin it up locally if you all give me a minute. Let me see. Copy. And then let me see if I can get to it from my VM. Oh yeah, I can get to it. Nice. Okay, I can't really remember the vulnerability in this one, but that's okay. I'm just gonna hold on. I'm gonna move some stuff around so that I can see the chat still, and then. Yeah, so if you've never done any API testing, Corey Ball's book is really good. Definitely take a look at it. If you've done his course or like our TCM's API hacking course, I would say you probably can skip the book. But if you're just starting out API hacking and if you like reading, his book is really good for sure, 100%. I saw Corey at DEF CON. I didn't manage to get to talk to him, unfortunately, which gutted for me. But next time, hopefully, I'll be able to catch up with him because he seems like a nice guy and he knows a lot of stuff. So, sorry, my windows are all like, what's going on? Okay, yeah, the backend DB is running. Okay, we're good. Okay, nice. Let's take a look at this box, and let me pull the chat back up. So here, and then we're good. All right, so we've got Copy pasta, welcome back. So let's sign up an account. So for example, here, like I built the back end of this web app, but the front end is like mostly AI with some like tweaks from my side. I knew the components that I wanted, and I was like, hey, I need these components. This is what the back end looks like. This is what the functionality is, and then it created me this web app. So here we go, jeremy@jeremy.com. All right, so we've logged in as Jeremy. And then, so this is basically like a snippets share. So you can be like my cool code, and then you can be like PHP because, oh my God, is PHP not on the list? Oh, there it is. I was like, for a second there, I was getting worried. So we can just be like reverse shell, and then we can be like PHP system $_get like this, and then CMD, and then this is your typical one-liner, and it creates a snippet, and then we've got our snippet here, and then if we go to snippets, you can see like snippets that people have created. So this is it. And then what we want to do is come to the same app, and then this is in our Burp Suite browser. So I'm going to create a second account, which is like something you should do all the time. So justme@justme.com, and then justme, and then password like this, and then we can come into here, or we can come into like the profile. But I think we're looking for SQL injection. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a snippet. Let's make it public. And then if I come to the bottom here, you can see the, there we go. Is that a little bit easier to see? There we go. We can see the public snippets here. We can view them. We can we can comment. This is just a test like this. And then we can like them. And then what else can we do? I think the only other thing we can do is if we come to dashboard here, we can share. Ooh, there was an issue with the share link. That might be a problem. Maybe there's a bug in the lab. So we should be able to share. So let's take a look. Dashboard. The front-end app isn't working, but let's take a look if we can recreate this proxy. If I can grab the ID gets. Let's see if we can find it. There's the share code. Okay. So this is what we wanted. And I think if we come to share/this, yeah, this is the share code. So there is a bug in this web app, which it was working earlier when I tested it, but for some reason now Don't know why. When you come into it and click share, we get cannot read properties of undefined reading write text. Don't know. React errors. But I wonder if there's actually a different way to show it. I don't know. We get the same issue. But if you find the share link in Burp Suites, you can go to /share, and then we get this endpoint here. So if we grab this and then do our basic SQL testing. So in this application, there's a lot of different things to do before we quickly jump into the SQL injection. And that is, like, as before, going through all of these posts and GET requests and looking for parameters and being like, where are the places that we can inject into? So, for example, why couldn't we inject into /API/profile /Jessamy and 1 = 1 to see this is to see whether this parameter is vulnerable to SQL injection, for example. Or if we come into a post request, all of these JSON properties, these are all potentials for SQL injection. So we need to test all of these. Now you could just save this request and send it to SQL map. And that's like, if you're working on an application and you've got tons of endpoints that you want to test, then for sure, like, send all of them to SQL map or just scan the targets. But in this case, just to save us a little bit of time, we have this share endpoint here. And I think if I do and 1 = 1, and then maybe add a terminator, you can see that we still get the same response. Now, this isn't exactly true. So, like, we haven't fully verified this, but having an ID and then and 1 = 1 return a positive response. And then maybe having an ID and then and 1 = 2, giving a failed to load snippet, we can be pretty sure that we have SQL injection here, because we're basically changing the behavior of the two statements, because and 1 = 2 will always be false. And so if you say, hey, grab all of the data from this table where the ID is this and false, which is and 1 = 2, then it's not going to return any data because it's an and statement. And then if we say and 1 = 1, this is a true statement, and so it's still going to return the data. And this is probably the best way, or one of the easier ways, to determine whether we have SQL injection just from behavior, by creating logic statements that you can basically compare. And so what are we going to do from here? So you can see, like, just in Burp Suite here, like, we have single quotes, %20 is a space, and 1 = 1. But I think it might be easier to go into here. So what I'm going to do is first try union select. So if we do union select, I know the text is a little bit small, so I'll copy and paste it into a text box first. And we need to, with union select, we need to figure out how many columns are being returned. So if we do union select null, I think when we're returning data from this snippet, if we think about the SQL statement, we're saying, hey, select all from snippets where ID equals this ID. We at the very least have the title, we have the language, we maybe have the owner. We do have an invalid date here, so not sure what's going on there. Then we have another test here, and then we have the content here. So that's at least 5 nulls. So let's try, or at least, sorry, 5 columns. So let's try 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's try 5. We get failed to load. Let's try 6. And we get uncaught runtime errors. So it is returning some data. So let's take a look at Burp Suite. Even though it seems like React isn't able to process our responses, but if we come to our most recent response, we get 304 not modified. But if I send this to repeater, take out this, the caching header, you can see that we get null, 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 null. So we've figured out the number of columns that this SQL is returning. And if we really wanted to prove this, what we could do is we could be like, instead of null, we could be like 1, 2, 3, for example. And then if I come back to here, proxy, send to repeater, get rid of this header, send again, you can see that we get 1, 2, 3. So we can impact the data in this application. And with union select, we can select data from other tables and columns. And so this is something to always think about. So if I type this into here, let's just go into gedit, for example. How do I zoom in? I don't know how to zoom in gedit, but let me, hold on. Hold up. Let me pull this up. So this is our payload at the moment, union select, like this. I don't know why my shortcuts aren't working. Hopefully you can all see that. Quote union select. What kind of, my question to the chat is, what kind of sensitive data we might be able to pull out from this application? I'll give you all a couple of minutes to think about it, and while we're doing that, I will answer some questions. Hey, Mantas, thank you very much for becoming a member. Much appreciated. Hope you're doing well and enjoying the stream. Let's see. Let me jump back to, there's 49 pinned questions. Okay, let me try and find where I was, because I think I answered like 15 or 20 already. Oh, here we go. I was up to. This is a good question from Rish. So vertical access controls differs from privilege escalation. No, so if you can break controls vertically, you have privilege escalation, basically. You're able to do things that you're not meant to do that a higher user can do. So yeah, from a privilege escalation point of view, breaking vertical access controls is privilege escalation, if that makes sense. Good question. Let's see. Oh, here's an interesting question. I'm going to college. Which of them would be better for a future hacker, software engineering, or which would be better for a future hacker, software engineering, computer science? Can you answer me? Good question. So for me personally, I would lean more into computer science. But what I would say is it probably depends more on like the faculty or where you go, if that makes sense. So I think that computer science dives more into how stuff works. And I think long-term, understanding computers and going deep is what's going to make you successful. Software engineering, don't get me wrong, I'm not bashing anybody who's studied software engineering. I studied software engineering. is good, but you're going to be like taught to basically be an engineer. Whereas computer science is more like how to be a researcher, I suppose. You're going like deep into stuff. It's more theoretical. But I think like on a hunch, I would say the software engineer would get you up and running quickly. But if your long-term goal is like being a high-level practitioner in the cybersecurity space, and you want to be like maybe publishing research or be like a leader in the industry or be like really highly technical, I think computer science is the better way to go. And I think regardless, you can still do software engineering and things like this off of a computer science degree. So I think that generally speaking, that if I had to choose, I would choose computer science. But I think that studying software engineering there's nothing wrong with studying software engineering at all. There are so many other factors that go into your long-term success that the choice between the two may not even matter. It's those other factors that matter. But if there's door A and door B, and I had to choose one, I would probably go for computer science personally. So yeah, that's it. Tricky question. Yeah, really tricky question. But I would say like where you're going matters, and have a look at the curriculum, see what interests you more, and don't underestimate yourself. I sold myself short once or twice in my career where I was like, I don't feel like I'm good enough or smart enough or experienced enough to do stuff. And I did that when I first went to university as well. Did a undergrad that was, I should have done a much more difficult undergrad. That was a breeze for me. Honestly, it was easy because I was worried about failing, and then went back, did a master's, and that kind of like set me onto the right track. Just try and do what you're passionate about, I think, is the main thing there. But yeah, I think going back, if I had the choice, I would choose computer science for sure. Ooh, how to master SQL. I would say like for me, I went through the W3 schools years and years ago. They have like, 100 different pages, different labs and things like this. But I think Free Code Academy is good. And then just building stuff, like writing your own SQL is the way to, like, once you get past the basics, there's no substitute for just solving problems and writing SQL. I would say that's the best thing to do. For sure. Oh, there's something. Hold on. Let me answer this question. What do I think about a MacBook for cybersecurity students? MacBook's fine. Honestly, anything that you can get your hands on that runs is like the way to go, for sure. Like, people get like really they overthink like hardware and software and Windows versus Mac versus Linux, blah blah blah, whatever. Honestly, at the end of the day, it doesn't make a difference. Like, if you have a MacBook, that's awesome. If you don't have a MacBook, that's fine too. If you have a phone, like I'll tell you now, some of the best hackers in the world, or even like competent cybersecurity people, would get by just fine on a really crap laptop, like on the crappiest hardware. They would still make it work. The hardware that you have access to does not define whether you're successful or not. So that's like, my opinion on different things. All right, so let's see. Did we get any answers in the chats? Ooh, users table. Yeah, this is what we're gonna go for. 100%. Version is also good, and the schema. So this is like probably the like a good approach if we're trying to like slowly build a payload, for sure. Version is also nice because then we know what we're actually dealing with, because at the moment we could be dealing with MySQL, we could be dealing with Postgres, we could be dealing with, actually it's not MySQL because the terminator didn't have a space after it, and it wouldn't have worked if we didn't add the space. So it's definitely not MySQL. Could be SQLite, for example, could be any other number of databases. So I like this approach where we get the version. This is good. And then we can be more specific with our payload. The cat is in front of my monitor. There we go. Let's see. Let me scroll down quickly. And those are the only answers I can see. So, we're logged out. So let's just YOLO and be like, null. And I'm going to assume the first one is the ID. So let's do username and password. Let's try from users like this, and then hop back into PepSuite and send this to repeater, and then get rid of the caching. There we go. We can union select, and the first user in the DB is the admin user, and the flag is dev flag because this is running on my local machine and not in the not on AWS. So there we go. So that's the solution to this challenge. Just a simple union select. But I think like if this wasn't possible, as let me scroll up, as Daniel said, getting the version and the type of database, and then start looking at what tables exists and then what columns exist. Like this is the standard approach that we should take, rather than just guessing, if that makes sense. Why didn't it appear in the web UI? So the reason it didn't appear here is because React doesn't know how to process these responses. So if we go back to, let me just, hold on, grab you a normal response. So if we do this, so we get test here. It's basically bad development on my part. And so I've built the application quite specifically, me, with the help of AI in the front end, to be able to process these things. And basically when we send it and it gets like null, for example, it doesn't know how to deal with these. And then it's just throwing errors in the front end. So it's basically the front end application is throwing errors, but we can still see the traffic in the back end. Now, a good developer would have built this so that it still works and it fails gracefully. But a bad developer like me, a bad front end developer, because I do more back end stuff. So that's the thing. A bad front end developer like me just like, is lazy, takes shortcuts. There's lots of errors and things like this. But that's basically the reason. All right. Let's answer a couple more questions before we say goodbye. Let's see. I see 50 pinned questions. So let me scroll down, figure out where I was at. Did I miss where you were going? So I haven't announced where I'm going yet, but if you keep an eye on my social media, in a couple of weeks, you'll see it come up, for sure. So yeah, that's it. Just a heads up, I'm terminating the Ottogram lab, so that's going down now. But if you want a beta key, send me a message on LinkedIn, and I'll happily provide one. But you'll see on my LinkedIn or Twitter or whatever, where I'm at in a few weeks' time. I am still at TCM for another week or so I'm still handing things over, getting documentation done, making sure everybody's up to speed with the random things that I do day to day. But it's been a wild journey. It's been great. It's been amazing. All right, so let me keep scrolling down the questions. Oh, I always ask this, but I get ghosted. I mean, the thing is like a lot of questions come in and a lot of stuff just gets missed. So sorry about that. But do I think that building a whole web app using modern tech stack and breaking it is a good way to apply my knowledge and upskill my career? I 100% think so. So the web app doesn't need to be like, you don't have to have tons of functionality and it doesn't have to be perfect, but just building stuff and understanding how things work under the hood is going to set you up for success. So somebody asked a question earlier about how to study or how to improve as an intermediate web app pen tester or bug bounty hunter. And building stuff and starting to understand the code and some of the issues, 100%, this is the way to go. So this is the mindset you should have, is understand why vulnerabilities exist. Like when you're learning the basics, don't worry about it. Just learn how to detect, how to exploit, how to fuzz, have fun, and go for it. But once you go beyond that, you really need to start to understand how things work and why they work. And then you can really start adding value in your pen testing reports. And then you can start going deeper and you can learn about more complex issues and you can learn about chaining issues and things like this. So yeah, 100%. I agree. Are the contents of the advanced web hacking enough for the PWP? Yes. So they are. There's not a ton of modules in there, but they go deeper. So things like prototype pollution, but it goes into like how to find prototype pollution in like open source software, for example, goes into caching issues and goes into like code review and front end code review. And the PWPE exam is twofold. One is dealing with things like obfuscated code, and dealing with things like filters, and also chaining issues together. So as soon as you find something, it's like, okay, so what can I do with this? Like, what's the point? So you might have like 3 or 4 smaller issues that chain together into a larger impact. But in terms of like your methodology and approach and dealing with filters and obfuscated code, the course deals with that, if that makes sense. So between like all of the courses, there's nothing in the exam that if you've taken the courses, there's nothing there that is like brand new. But you will have to like think about how you can chain stuff together. And you always need to be thinking about, so what's that given me access to, for example? What can I now find? And it's like SQL injection, for example. So let's say you find SQL injection. What can you do with it? Could you impact the configuration of an application because maybe its configs are stored somewhere in the database? Could you impact an admin account and then access that admin account and then do other things, for example, and stuff like that? So that's really like the expert level exams test your ability to go deeper and be like, chain stuff together. So that's it. But I'm confident, like the people who have taken the course, we've had a bunch of people pass the expert level exam already, and they did the course and they were confident going into the exam. So that's good to see, which is nice. Am I able to go to a website that has a form without testing the site's vulnerabilities? Yeah, I do have a habit of like typing in random payloads here and there. And a lot of the time, what's quite funny is I find like Easter eggs. So for example, the Frack magazine, their website has I think it's PHP, I can't remember, but there's like a directory in the URL, and I was like, I wonder what happens if you go .. Etsy pastwd, and then it just takes you to like the Rickroll on YouTube. So yeah, this happens quite a lot, but more often than not, I find Easter eggs than bugs with just like really basic testing. So yeah, there we go. Elfie's up here, by the way, if you can't see. She's chilling. And Poppy is getting a bit antsy because she wants feeding, but I will feed them soon. Let's see. Let me answer a couple more questions, and then we'll finish up today for today. Oh, will I do content creation in the new job? Not so much, but I will be. So I am planning on continuing my live streaming. I'll be doing like, I'm going to take a couple of weeks off, and then I'll start doing live streaming elsewhere, and hopefully TCM will have me as a guest at some point, of course, since I know all the people at TCM now. So hopefully I'll be a guest here, every so often. But I'll definitely, I'm not retiring from content creation. That's for sure. So you'll see stuff coming in. What's up, Mary Ellen? Oh, this is a nice message. I didn't see this before. I just clicked on it. That's great to hear. Seen you through some hard times. Thank you so much, Mary Ellen. And if you guys haven't seen, we did a great live stream. I'm sad we didn't get to do a follow-up live stream, but hopefully at some point in the future, we'll be able to. But it was awesome to have you around, and awesome to have you on the live stream previously. Yeah, it's really, really nice. Still training Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Yes, I am. My neck is killing me this week. I got guillotined so badly. I was going for a takedown and then got into a guillotine, and then I tried to then roll out of it and like flip over, and then I should have just tapped. Yeah. Neck problems for me is a regular thing. I don't tap easily to chokes or guillotines. And I probably should, but yeah, I'm really stiff at the moment, and you can probably hear it in my voice. My voice has been gone since yesterday a little bit, because of a rough roll where I got choked a little bit. So for those who don't know what BJJ is, it's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It's like rolling around, hugging each other, and then trying to break each other's limbs. That's basically the long and short of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. But that's it. All right, so I think that's it for me for today's live stream. It's been amazing. So thanks for everybody who's tuned in over the last few years. Couldn't have done it without all of you, and also the support from the TCM team. And of course, Britt, who's here every week, keeping you lot under control and making sure things don't get too wild, which is no easy task. And of course, there's so many people to thank. Like there's a whole list, but you guys are going to see a lot more of Andrew Prince and Andrew Bellini, which is great because they both do amazing live streams. And do really, really good topics. And hopefully I will see you all when I start up live streaming again on my own channel. Just follow me on social media. You'll find some stuff, and hopefully I'll be back on the TCM live stream at some point. But stay in touch. I'll see you all at conferences and things. I'm still in cybersecurity. I'm not disappearing. It's just, no more TCM live streams for a while, but I really appreciate you all. And to be honest, none of us would be here if it wasn't for the community. So thanks to everybody, and thanks for all your great questions and all your support over the years. And honestly, these live streams have been so much fun, so much fun. And there's Elfo up here, and Poppy's down here. Hold on. Oh no, she's just run. I was gonna try and pay the cat tax. Poppy, where are you? Come on. Oh. Brief cat tax. She's wriggling, so I don't want to. Here we go. Say goodbye, Elfa. No, she's just sat on my chair. Okay. But anyway, the cats missed you. But you know, if you follow me on social media, you'll see more cat pictures. They're just two spoiled cats. And yeah, I really appreciate all of you. So thanks everybody, and bye for now. And I will